Hello, wine friends, and welcome to Sip, Sip, Hooray, the podcast for people thirsty for fun stories about wine and the interesting people who make it. We are two Marys who like to eat, drink, and be merry. I am Mary Babbitt.
And I am Mary Orlin, and today's guest and his winery, I like to say there's three words that define Alan Viader and Viader Vineyards and Winery: resilience in overcoming major fire events, determination to plant a vineyard and start a winery in a very challenging location that required dynamite to clear the land for planting the vines, and perseverance in overcoming all of these challenges and COVID on top of that. And today we have Alan Viader, who is the winemaker, director of operations at Viader Winery, his family's winery. Alan, thank you for joining us from Howell Mountain in Napa Valley.
Mary, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We are excited. Both Marys are happy to have you with us today. And, I think we should start. That whole thing about the phoenix rising from the fire, that's truly your story. And in addition to being a winemaker, I understand you are a recent graduate of CAL FIRE's Fire Academy. So you're a certified firefighter as well. So can you tell us how fire has impacted your life and your family's winery as well?
Yeah, unfortunately, a little too close to home, a little too much experience these past few years. The 2020 glass fire came up the hill from the canyon just below our vineyard and off, near the reservoir that's directly below us, and it came up the hill, up the canyons, followed the terrain, and then essentially encircled the property. And overnight, as the winds picked up and it got into alignment into the canyons of Deer Park Road, it came down like a freight train through our property down into the community of Deer Park, and took out most of what was in its way. Luckily, my mom built the property using the natural stones and lined her house. The walls of her house on the exterior have, rock walls. The tasting room is completely covered in rocks. The winery is completely covered in rocks. There's slate roofs. The landscaping was pretty minimal. We used a lot of the giant rocks as landscape structures just because they're too heavy to move out of the way. And they have this beautiful moss, or I guess had beautiful moss all over them. And, it really helps keep the structures, let them be spared.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the vineyards, were organically farmed, so we had the grasses and everything mowed down and laying just on the ground as a mulch, a thick mulch, because it gets really hot and dry in California, hence the fires. But we like to do a nice layer of mulch to kind of keep the moisture in the soils and helps for the vineyard, protect the vineyard, give it a little bit more of a break in the heat spells. So that actually came back to bite me because the fire came up the hill, followed the grasses, and we use only wood end posts and stakes, and it just loved all that. So.
Oh, Alan, yikes.
How scary to go through that, even though you've had experiencing with search and rescue in other fires that have happened in the Napa Valley over the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I started search and rescue about 5 years ago, and luckily had some good training. We had a fire department, actually a firefighter on the team, and he did a lot of training in the spring of 2017 on fire behavior, and actually a lot of the same material that I covered in modern fire behavior this year in the academy. So pretty good information, and that has always stuck with me. And then when October of 2017 hit, we were all thrown in all hands on deck to evacuate because everything was moving so fast. The winds were 80 miles an hour. The entire Atlas Peak was on fire. It was just taking out neighborhood after neighborhood. So the sheriff's department wanted everybody just to go and evacuate as many people and clear as many homes and properties as possible ahead of the fire. So that was, it felt like we were in the middle of a fire hurricane because there was embers all over us. We were all wearing Nomex, but fire was coming across both lanes of the road, and it was on both sides of the road, and we were kind of stuck to a fire engine, and the fire engine would clear a little way in front of us as we would evacuate the houses. And then if the fire got too dangerous, then we would all have to move to another road, and we would continue the evacuation. We'd never leave. We'd just kind of move ahead of the fire. We're always about 500 feet away from the fire, but the way that fire was moving, it was moving like a football field a second. So it could have been worse, I suppose. We were able to save a lot of people. I remember this one lady. I woke her up because this was all throughout the night, and she was more worried about getting her cat than evacuating, even though the fire was literally like burning her neighbor's house. So found her cat and helped her get in the car and go. So,
oh my word, how scary.
A lot of little things. It's funny how people, they find comfort in those little things. I mean, it's a family member. I understand it.
Right. Well, and the panic that people go through in a crisis like that, just incredible. Well, so now you are big on fire prevention. So what kind of stuff are you doing to try to keep that from happening again around, at least protect your property and vineyards? Are you replanting everything?
So we are replanting the vineyard, and the vineyards, did slow the fire down. It did definitely, I think, was a good reason why the house is still there, my mom's house, because she's surrounded by vineyards. But fire prevention, the property has always been very well maintained. We'd always done some limbing of branches kind of as high as we could reach, making sure, pruning and maintaining the balance of the trees so that, the ladder fuels, which is kind of going from grasses to bushes up to the tree canopies. That's what you want to avoid. So we wanted to eliminate any of that. But after 2017, it was kind of in the forefront of our minds. Fire was definitely, an important topic. So we continue to look at the property and continue to do more and more cleanup and maintaining. And then in 2020, this year, we had the LNU, the lightning strikes. It was absolutely incredible. We had, I don't know how many hundreds of lightning strikes and almost like 50 fires erupt that morning. So that was in August, and that really sparked in me this drive to get everything cleaned up as best as we could, and then harvest everything as well as fast as we could. And I had a full winery. Every tank was full with all the grapes, and gosh, about like 10 days later, the glass fire hit, and if I didn't harvest, I would have lost everything. So
wow.
And we did do a significant amount of trimming, so everything was as good as it could get, defensible space. So the fire department had a bunch of strike teams staged at our property all day long. I mean, even the newscasters, they had their video cameras on my mom's deck, which is no longer there, but
wow,
they were filming at 5 o'clock news. They were filming on my mom's front porch. So the fire didn't seem like it was going to be that intense at that moment, but overnight it kind of just took off.
Well, I guess it's the unpredictable nature of wildfires, especially with the wind.
Exactly. And it's super hard to get back. I mean, we live in a very rugged area. The Howell Mountain is just volcanic, just rocky and rugged and steep and very little access. And we actually butt right up against like a land trust property and a lot of land, thousands of acres of land that is untouched, undisturbed. Nobody goes there. We used to hike it as kids, but other than that, there's no there's no maintenance or anything being done on that property. So it was a lot of fuel for the fire. As much as we protected our property, it was just too much. It was coming at it was already coming at 100 miles an hour.
So how do you, heading into another really hot summer and a drought year, how do you not just want to pack up and get out? You know what I mean? What keeps you working at this and being willing to, stay the course with this in a scary mountainous area in a wildfire district?
Well, we're farmers. I mean, we're the eternal optimists, and we love that property. It's our life. My mom created this vineyard estate out of nothing, and like you were saying earlier, I mean, she dynamited and had to do the impossible to make it happen. Every vine had to be put in with jackhammers, and it's a labor of love. It's definitely an accomplishment, and to have it, we're not going to pack up and just bow out. We've had little fires here and there. There's fires when I was in high school. I remember there was a couple fires, and electrical transformers would spark and start a couple trees on fire. And I remember in 2008, there was a car accident right next to our driveway, and that caused it started the hillside on fire. I mean, there's little fires here and there, and we've dealt with it. And this one is a little harder. It knocked us down, but we get back up and we just look forward and how can we improve, how can we learn from it, and how can we move on. So that's what we're going to do.
Right. And that's the resilience I was referring to at the top of the show, that with all these adverse events, you all still keep going, because your mother, Delia Viader, when she started the whole winery project, she was quite a pioneer. Absolutely. In the late 80s. Tell us about that.
So my mom came from Argentina. She studied in Europe with a PhD in philosophy, and then decided to go back to school, go to Berkeley and get a master's in business. And while she was there, decided to kind of visit the wine region of Napa Valley. She loved wine. She grew up with wine. It was part of the family kind of culture. Have wine with a meal, and her time in Europe made her fall in love with the wines of Bordeaux, and obviously brought kind of that experience with her. So she was really kind of attracted to the wines that had more elegance. So she was really enjoying the wines from Dominus of the time, or Opus One of the time, that were really really good, more kind of old school or old world style. More restrained style, and she kind of saw a need there. There was a lot of big, powerful, blockbuster Cabernets, and very few elegant style wines, and I don't think there were very many at all. Maybe Spotswood had a little bit of Cabernet Franc, but there were very few doing Cabernet Franc, and she loved Cab Franc. It was one of her favorite varietals, so she planted 40% of the property with Cabernet Franc on a hillside that everybody told her was impossible to plant, and with a varietal that people said was inferior to Cabernet. Why would she do that? So she did a lot of things against the grain, and
yes, she did, and she really put Cabernet Franc on the map, especially in Napa Valley. And I personally want to thank her for that, because I love Cabernet Franc.
On this property, it's so special because we get really good sun exposure. We get late ripening. It's the best of it's not as cold at night as the valley floor. And it's nice and warm. It's maybe 40 degrees on the coolest night of the winter, and 50 degrees during the summer. And it also doesn't hit the peaks that the valley floor gets. There's this constant breeze because of the mountainside, which didn't help us in the fire situation, but it helps us all during the growing season. Makes really good quality fruit. The Cabernet Franc especially loves that location. It creates this wine of beauty, this aromatic, this floral component that I've yet to see its equal. So it's a very unique site.
And you grew up on that mountain, am I right?
Yeah, my mom's house is there. It was my front and backyard growing up as a kid.
So were you always
So
going to go into the family biz, or did you entertain ideas of another career choice?
there's always other, you always want to be a hero as a kid. So, you're trying to do this and that, but, really work was part of the everyday life, being a small family operation, just kind of getting off the ground. And my mom would put me to work wherever was needed. And I enjoyed it. I learned that I loved to work with my hands. I love to work in the vineyards. I love to farm. I love just the concept of growing and creating something. And eventually I fell in love with the final product, with the wines. And when I was old enough to appreciate wines, and kind of completed the circle for me. I think I was 25 when I finally when it got kind of set in, and I realized I was a really good farmer, but I can be a better farmer if I'm also the winemaker, because then I'm farming with a purpose, and vice versa. You're a winemaker, you can be a better winemaker if you are also the farmer, because you're kind of doing things throughout the growing season to impact the final product. So
That makes complete sense. So, Alan, can you, for our listeners who may not have had a chance to visit Viader, can you describe the vineyard? Because what makes the vineyard unusual is the slope is so steep, and the vines are, at the time, were planted in a different orientation than was typical in Napa Valley. And tell us why that mattered.
yeah, so my mom brought all this experience that she saw from the best vineyards in Europe. She realized that it needed to have a slight slope to it because of the drainage. It allowed the vines to struggle a little bit more. So she found Viader to be special, this property to be special because of that. It was on the foothills of Howell Mountain. It was supposedly impossible because of how steep it was and how rocky it is. It's a 32% grade on average. It's like a double black diamond ski slope. And she planted up and down the hillside, which was very, very unique. She wanted to go with the sun. It didn't matter how everybody else around us was at the time doing very wide terraces, some as much as 12-foot wide terraces with vine density of 700 vines per acre. She wanted to do very high density planting, have the vines compete for nutrients. There wasn't very much water, so she wanted the vines to stay small. So she wanted to plant them really close together. So they're only 4 feet apart, and 6-foot rows. So we get over 1,800 vines per acre. And the vines are much smaller, more compact. They only have to produce maybe six tiny little clusters of fruit per year. The vines are very small. They're very low to the ground, so they get all that radiant heat from the rock, from the volcanic rock, as it releases the heat at night. As kids, we would run around in the summer nights, and we'd be barefoot, and we'd lay down, look at the stars, and the rocks would be 80 degrees.
Wow.
It was incredible to experience that from that angle, because that's how the vines are experienced, and they're riper sooner because of that. I feel like they're respiring longer throughout the night. They don't shut down as soon as the sun goes down because of that latent heat. But everything revolves around the sun. So my mom was, adamant in planting east to west, so that the vines would be, or the fruit would be protected from the canopy throughout the whole day. There was no question of, is this the morning side or the afternoon side going to be ripe first, or is everything going to be uniform? No. The way that she planted, everything is protected all day long. It sees sun. The sun will move around the top, but the fruit below is always protected from direct sunlight. You get the heat, you get the exposure. If I remove leaves on a cooler year, for example, I can really go through and manipulate the canopy and open it up and expose as much as I need to. Vintages like 2010, 2011 really excelled because I had that option because of the sun. The light intensity there is just, it's like the perfect solar panel array. You have everything at 32% grade. It's at this really nice angle to absorb all the sun.
I love the idea of you guys taking this on as like the harder, the not obvious way to plant the hillside as opposed to the valley, and taking on the challenge. And you have not shied away. I mean, you guys, like Mary was saying, your perseverance, your resilience. You started with a challenge, and the challenges have kept coming your way. We didn't even talk about the 2005 warehouse fire. That destroyed I think your entire 2003 vintage that you were ready to ship to exporters, distributors, restaurants, etc. But that warehouse fire kind of changed the way you guys are running your business now. You're direct to consumer now. Can you tell us a little bit about that and kind of that pivot and why you made that decision?
Yeah, the 2005 fire, that was intense. I remember that.
I remember it too.
It was
huge news.
And it was an arson fire. And I think is important to say, which is extra sad.
Yes.
And I was there doing some labeling, like few hours and the day before. I mean, it was just nuts to get. I had a friend of mine who's on the fire department give me a call, and he said, "Hey, I think you need to run down to Mare Island. I know you have your wine there," because he's a winery winemaker as well, and he said, "I know you have some wine stored there, so maybe you should go check it out. It's quite a big deal." And so I started driving down, and you could see the whole sky was covered in black smoke. And I got in and got to see it as they were fighting it, and it was just sad. When we were finally let into the building, you could see just the destruction. And the fire didn't do that much damage to the actual stock. It was when the building was getting put out because of all the foam and the water, and everything is stacked really high in cardboard boxes. The cardboard boxes collapsed, and then that essentially just shattered everything. So
your heart must have
huge mess. So,
your heart must have just sunk when you saw that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had to give my mom a call and unfortunately give her the bad news. And at the time we were doing a lot of distribution. We were making wine that would be in every top restaurant all over the world. We were in 18 countries and almost 45 states. We were very well distributed, and that was our model. And in a blink of an eye, all of that is gone. All the placements that we had, the continued relationships, had to be put on pause. We only had what was still left at in our winery in the caves. We had all our magnums. We had a few pallets of the 750s that we managed to bring back. But it was unfortunate. The majority of the 2003 was gone, and we had to call in some favors. And luckily, we had a really loyal fan base that really supported us, and we sold direct. We opened up our library. We literally wrote letters and offers and said, "Hey, if you're interested, we have a couple 2001s. We have some 2000. We have some 99, 97s." And little by little, we got those into the hands of our customers, and they kept us going. They kept the lights on. So we continued that route, and we kind of enhanced that program, and it's been a huge blessing. We've been direct to consumer ever since. It was unfortunately a huge disaster that got us there, but it's been nice to have this loyal customer group, this wine club following, and it's very small. It's almost like we're just a big happy family, and we make a little bit of wine and they buy it. That's kind of how it goes around.
Well, at the time you had no way of knowing how important that pivot would be to help you get through COVID and the pandemic.
Yeah, well, even before that, it was the recession hit, and nobody was buying at restaurants. Nobody was buying wine anywhere except through, people were still drinking wine. So they were drinking wine at home, but they were only buying from their favorites. And we had built this following, and it was kind of, a similar idea with COVID. Nobody was allowed to go out. Nobody was allowed to go to restaurants, and people were buying and drinking wine at home. And they, again, turned to their favorites. Support the small family businesses that they've been, supporting. So
I love that. And am I correct in understanding that you also no longer use a warehouse to store any wine? You built a cave?
No, we don't. No, we have all our storage on site, underground, totally protected from everything. So yeah.
Once burned, twice shy.
You can't say fireproof, but I'd be shocked to see anything happen in the cave. So
yeah,
it was safe as the fire, the 2020 glass fire literally hit every inch of our property over the top of everything. And I remember going into the cave, and it was absolutely perfect, like as if nothing had happened.
Really?
It smelled like smoke.
Oh, nice. I'm glad to hear that. And so during COVID, were you doing like more Zooms and things like that? Because many wineries who didn't have maybe as tight a wine club thing as you guys do started really taking on the Zoom tastings and stuff. Did you do that as well?
Yeah, we started Zoom offerings. We couldn't have people coming to the property, so I just offered the 3 main wines that we would be offering. I personally hosted every single Zoom event, so you get kind of the opportunity to meet the winemaker on Zoom and taste the wines, and a lot of people really enjoyed it and took off. And people actually that had wine already in their cellars, our club members, they're very loyal ones that had been for a decade or more. They would call and say, "Hey, I've got a couple of these vintages in my cellar. I'd be curious to see what you thought." So then we started making these custom little virtual tastings, and it was exciting for me because they would kind of call the shots, like which wines we would open. So I'd go into the cellar and open the wines that they were curious about, and we'd explore them together. It was fun. I did that quite a bit.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool.
And then we had, as a company, my mom just said, "Hey, today is what we know we have today. We don't know if we have tomorrow. So let's just start enjoying the wines." And she went into her cellar deep, and we did a full vertical all the way back to from current all the way back down to 89, and then all the way back up to current. So we had this huge tasting that lasted for 3 or 4 weeks. Every day we'd open something new.
Oh, wow.
It was fun for people on social media to kind of follow along and, "Hey, I got one of those. I'm going to open one of those."
That's such a great idea because, that point you made that you just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And you might as well go ahead and enjoy that wine today. So many people save their wines, and either that day never comes or they open it and it's over the hill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we hate that.
Yes,
we never want to get to that point.
So true.
I'd rather open it slightly young than the other option. So.
Well, one of the wines I want to talk about when we have guests, we ask that they send us a bottle that tells the story of the winery, and the wine that you sent us is the Black Label Viader. I'd love for you to tell us why you chose that wine.
Well, the Black Label is a personal favorite of mine. It's a wine that I created when I was just starting off as the winemaker. I started in 2006, and in 2008 I wanted to make a wine that kind of had my perspective on being the second generation. I love the Viader, the classic signature blend my mom started with, and that's still our top of the line, best of the best. We do single barrel selections and the whole gamut with that to make it as good as possible. And that was really kind of the focus of the property. But as a young winemaker, I wanted to also kind of do something fun and different and exciting, and out of respect. And I very much love that wine, so I don't want to change it whatsoever. I didn't want to do anything too Viader, so I needed to kind of branch out and do something new. And Black Label was something that I started playing around with one night. We had some Syrah on the estate, which was fantastic, but the market was just hesitant, didn't want to pony up and buy it. Frankly, it's a delicious wine, excellent. Everyone in a blind tasting would turn and say that one is my favorite, but then you'd expose, oh, that's the Syrah. They'd go, I'd rather buy Cab. So we had a huge demand for Cabernet, not so much for Syrah, and they were planted side by side. My mom, being the money person, the logical person, said, you know what, next year after this harvest, we're going to pull the Syrah out and we're going to plant Cabernet because we can't make enough Cabernet. And me being the artistic, passionate winemaker, young, just budding winemaker, fought for this Syrah. So I started blending Syrah with Malbec, with Cabernet Franc, and some Cabernet, and presented it to my mom with the idea that, hey, this needs to, we need to preserve this Syrah on this property. It's special. There's not very many acres of Syrah in Howell Mountain. So I made the argument and she accepted it. She calls it the limited edition because she only thought it would be around for maybe a year or two until I gave up and let her pull it out and put Cabernet in its place. And we're still looking at it. And the black label is still there. I'm very proud to say that.
Oh, that's so good. I'm so glad that you kept at it and kept being persistent, because it's delicious. I mean, it's bold, intense, and savory.
Yeah, so it's a different style than the Viader. The Viader is very, very restrained and elegant and beautiful, but not very flashy. The black label is more flashy. It's in your face. It's look at me, look at me. It's not big and heavy though, because I do like that soft, silky kind of mouthfeel. I don't want a wine that really hits you over the face with a 2x4. I want a wine that's a little bit softer and more balanced, but I did want more expression. I did want the aromatics to hook you. And I love Syrah for the fact that it can add body, volume, without adding weight to a wine. So,
well, that's beautiful.
I think it's a really nice dance.
I think you described it. Yeah, I think I read that you described it as liquid cashmere.
That's the Viader. The Viader is
liquid
cashmere.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I love that.
I love that description. Yeah, for sure.
I also like the look at me, but maybe also a little coy.
That's true. Coy. I love that.
I wanted to ask you, we mentioned that you are a firefighter on the side, and with good reason. You have a lot to be concerned about where you are, and also you care about your neighbors. So you're helping out as a firefighter, but you also have 3 children, and and you got a real cute dog, Molly. I saw a photo of her, and just wanted you to tell us about your life outside the vineyard and winery.
Well, I live in a little town called Yountville, and it's paradise out here. It's the white picket fence area of Napa. It's quiet. My kids and I and my wife love to ride bikes and roller skates and go to the store and get ice cream. I mean, it's kind of cheesy, but it's so peaceful and quiet out here.
It sounds beautiful.
Yeah, and we have a lot of friends in the area, so the kids will play, and they'll do roller hockey, or they'll go to the park and play soccer. And the weather's, it's Napa Valley, so the weather's great all the time here.
Yeah.
We do a lot of camping, a lot of outdoors, a lot of hiking. There's both a park, there's Skyline Park, there's Las Posadas State Park. I mean, there's so many parks in Napa that we just enjoy. We enjoy the outdoors. We enjoy being outside and getting some fresh air.
And you like biking with Molly, or maybe are you an ATV guy too, or?
I do, yeah. Anything that has a lot of horsepower and moves fast, I'm probably gonna like it.
Does that mean motorcycles too?
I like motorcycles. Used to do enduro motorcycles, kind of dual sport, on and off road, through Mexico, through Death Valley, through a few, a lot of fun places. Lost Coast up in Mendocino area.
Lots
of adventurous things. I've gotten my kids into it. They're still young, but they're very excited every time that I bring something up to go out and go get lost in the mountains somewhere. We love a good desolate, kind of remote, off the grid, no cell phone reception, not a person for 1,000 miles, with a nice, trout filled stream.
That sounds perfect. What a great thing for children too. And I think I heard that you were teaching Molly to be on the lookout for rattlesnakes.
So Molly is a German short-hair pointer and full of energy. She loves to point at anything that moves. So yeah, she keeps her eye out for anything, lizards, snakes, birds. And the good thing about her is that she won't chase it. She'll just stop and alert and let us know that something is there. And then we realize, oh, that's nothing. And we give her the command to leave it alone, and we move on. But yeah, it's been nice. She's been a great addition to the family. I've had a lot of dogs. We've went from Dobermans to Dalmatians to every color of Labrador. This German short-haired pointer is by far the best dog I've ever had.
Oh,
wow!
Incredible.
So, I think I saw on your Instagram page that Molly was actually featured in an issue of Wine
that's
Spectator.
where I saw her. Yeah, that's where I first met Molly.
Yeah, there was this.
Yeah, tell us
so there was this like entry, opportunity to say, "Hey, submit your dogs." And that day, I happened to be riding down here in Yountville, where the mustard flowers were in full bloom, and we were riding our bikes. And Molly laid down in the middle of the vineyard, and she's a dark brown color, so kind of just, the contrast was pretty striking. So I took a picture, and I saw this thing come through my inbox, and it's like, hey, I think I've got the picture right, perfect for this. So yeah, it was
that's cool.
She got
Very
her little
cool.
moment of fame too.
Nice. And then on your personal Instagram page, your profile picture has pizza, or you making pizza. So what's your connection with pizza?
So when I was going through school in college, I worked part-time at a pizza restaurant and an Italian restaurant, and really learned everything, how to make pizza dough from scratch and pizza sauce from scratch and make pizzas. And I did that for maybe a year or two. And ever since that, I've always really enjoyed, I have always loved cooking, and pizza was kind of just the fun, casual, if you have only leftovers in the fridge, you can just throw it on a pizza and make something creative.
Well,
among my friends, I'm kind of the pizza guy, and every Friday as a family we have family pizza night. So
you are a man after my own heart.
Tradition.
My husband owns pizza restaurants, so you are speaking my language. I love it. Good on you.
I love pizzas, and health. It's a great way for kids to eat vegetable. You can throw anything you want on there, and it just tastes better when it's covered in cheese.
So true. So true.
Yeah. So they get their helping of vegetables every Friday, at least.
We would be remiss if we didn't ask about your mom. How is she doing? How's Delia?
She's doing good. She's still adjusting. Her house hasn't been, repaired yet. So every day is kind of a reminder, which is going to be hard. But
yeah,
she's enjoying kind of the rebirth, reimagining the landscaping that she had. She had spent 30 years or 30 plus years doing the landscape on the property, and in one night it's all gone. So she's been kind of reinventing the property and doing a lot of olive trees and cypress and these cherry laurels and just beautiful combinations of trees and brush and things that we're trying to rebuild this property to a greater glory than it was before. So she's enjoying that. It's got to be tough though, but she gets a good break from all that when we blend together and we go through and select barrels together. And we've got a bottling coming up in 2 weeks, so there's going to be a lot of wine tasting and sampling and blending and discussion around that, so it gets her minds off all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the fun, the exciting, glamorous side of dealing with insurance companies and all the rebuild issues, contractors and whatnot. So, you know, we get to focus on a little bit of wine for the next couple of weeks and actually enjoy that. The blending is kind of the time where you're painting, right? You're creating something new, and then the artistic side comes out. So.
Oh, nice. I love
you
that.
get to disconnect from reality essentially for a few hours.
And do some art with the wine.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yes. And that leads me to say that when I first met Delia, it was a story that we did. Mary and I had a TV show in wine country, and we came to Viader in about 2002, 2003. And it was because this artist, Philippe Dufresnoy, he paints with wine, and he was getting ready to do a portrait of Delia. So she was gracious enough to open up her home to our crew and let us come in and film some of the process.
Oh, okay, that was you guys. I remember
that was us.
That was us. Yeah.
that was really cool to see him and see that painting transform into what it is, and then even now. It's evolving every year. It changes slightly. The colors.
Oh, the colors, sure.
Yeah, it's much more kind of that aged brick color instead of that dark purple that it was at the beginning. I mean, it's pretty neat to see.
Oh, that's
we still
right.
have it.
I remember.
It's up on the wall.
Great.
Yay!
I remember Philippe saying that the paintings age just like wine would age because, young wines are more purplish in color, and as they age, they become more brickish or sepia in tone.
Yeah,
it's definitely doing that. But it's amazing to see because even with that, you can still see all the layers and just the intricate details that he did with the wine. And he's the master. I'm not sure how he did that, but it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, that was a cool process to watch that.
That was a long time ago.
To get to know your mom too. What an incredible woman. And you mentioned she's so obviously so driven, so smart. She has put her life into this, and now with the help, what fun for her that you have, that you're a part of the process. And is your sister involved too?
She was for about 10 years, and then she met Mr. Wright and moved to New York. So she's kind of out of the picture of doing her own. She went back to school, got a master's, and is being she's very successful over there now. She's found her niche over there.
Well, good for her. But how nice for your mom that you are working with her on this family project, and that you came to love it. Growing up there your whole life, working in that vineyard and in the winery, and just to take it on now as winemaker is so terrific.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's she's always got a new project up her sleeve, and it keeps it exciting for me because I love to get things done. And there's always I'm better when I have a list of things and I can check them off. And if it's a challenge, even better. I love to figure things out. I'm kind of the MacGyver type.
Love it.
I love a good challenge.
Yeah. So, Alan, can you because you have several labels, as we talked about, you have Viader, but you also, and the black label, but you also have a few other labels, and I'm really interested in Intentus.
Oh, okay. Well, with Viader, we've got a few labels. One is called the V. It's a Petit Verdot based wine. There's a little bit of Cabernet in there, but really incredible. That's our big blockbuster type wine. That's the special occasion wine, and it's really nice to have a wine that can age and can stand up with the biggest of ribeye steaks that you can throw at it. And then we have another wine that I started called the Homenaje, and Homenaje in Spanish means tribute, and it's a tribute kind of when we hit that 30-year anniversary mark. It was a tribute to my grandfather who helped loan the money to my mom to get the property started. And also to our roots in Argentina and Malbec grape. It's about a 50-50 Malbec and Cabernet. It changes every year, but that's about kind of where it is. And then tribute to how successful my mom's vision has become and grown over the years. We have a wine called the Dare series that is 100% varietal, which we make a Cabernet Franc. We've done a few other different varietals over the years. That's fun to really focus on a single grape and really showcase these varietals for what they're good at. And then, yeah, recently I started my own brand called Intentus, and Intentus in Latin means intention or purpose. And I've always thought that, I had a purpose in life, and, I do have a heart to help others. So this kind of was, I know how to make wine, and this was kind of an outlet that I found, an opportunity that I can make wine and then have the proceeds go to help others. So it helps first responders and their families and stuff with the proceeds. So,
are you kidding? That's so great.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for that. I love people who care enough to give back. Wow, Alan, that's really impressive.
It's small. I did a ton of Pinot and a ton of Syrah, and looking at doing a little rosé, but trying to keep it small so that it, it's manageable. But the cause is important and needed. So.
Well, I think consumers are looking for wines that there's a connection to community with. It's not just another bottle off the shelf.
Yeah. That's how I buy wine. I love the story, and if I like the people behind it, I'm like, yeah, I'll grab a couple bottles.
Right, and I think I'm a sucker too for family, for small production, for something crafted as opposed to mass produced. So I love all that. Well, I love that you're giving back to charitable organizations, and also are continuing to work as a volunteer firefighter. Correct?
I am, yeah. That's going to be an interesting year. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, we wish
Hopefully
you well.
Very quiet, but
we all hope it's a quiet year, but
we need a break.
It's good to.
That's for sure.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. It's been just one year after another since 2017, especially.
Yeah, but head high, and every day is a gift. So.
All right. So you have on the deck right now, you've got blending to do. Is that what's happening at the winery?
Finalizing the blends. Yep.
All right, cool.
Got to rack all the barrels and do all the fun work. The grunt work. That's how I stay in shape. I don't have to go to the gym.
You just gotta lift those barrels.
Throw barrels around.
Yeah, right.
Right. There you go.
Well,
there you
thank
go.
you.
So, Alan, it's all red wine. Has there ever been any interest or discussion about doing something white?
Not right now. I think maybe Intentus. Maybe I'll do some whites. My wife definitely loves white wine, so there could be a Chenin Blanc or a Sauvignon Blanc or something in the future. I've spent some time in Burgundy and absolutely love the white Burgundies. They're super acidic, like 3 pH, just barrel fermented. I love that style. So, I can't say that it won't happen. Yeah, it probably will happen. Just when I find the right source.
Well, your wife, Mary Orland, and I will all appreciate it when you do.
Yes.
Great.
I love red, but white, especially when the weather's super warm and hot, and which it is where I am. White wines are my go-to.
Yeah, it's hot today. I'm probably going to be drinking more whites and pinks than anything today.
Yep, for sure.
Well, Alan, it's been such a pleasure getting to know you and having this time to chat with you. And we wish you continued good fortune. You've had your share of hard knocks with the fires and the setbacks, but your spirit and being positive and hopeful and hardworking will surely pay off. And I think your loyal customer base shows you that you're doing all the right things. So continued success to you and the whole Viader family.
Thank you very much for that.
And many, many thanks for all you do for the community to help out in the many ways that you do. That's really, to give of yourself in addition to doing what you need to do to make wine and run the business. That's pretty incredible.
Well, more people should do it. We've got room for volunteers. So.
All right, folks. That. If you're listening,
answer the call.
Yep. Be part of the solution. We're all in it together. So.
I love that.
Well, thanks again and good luck. I hope
right.
you're not work too hard this summer on the fire lines.
All right. Thank you. You guys have a wonderful day.
Okay, Alan.
Thanks. And cheers to you. Sip,
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 hooray.
hooray.
Well, Mary Babbitt, what a great chat with Alan Viader. I'm always impressed and inspired, so inspired, when I hear about a winemaker, a winery that is really not only giving back to the community, but he's actually helping to protect the community. And that is something so special.
Just incredible. From long before the fire impacted his property, being part of the sheriff's search and rescue team, now going through the Cal Fire Academy and continuing to work as a volunteer firefighter, rescuing neighbors during that glass fire, and then also this new label, Intentus, which gives back to charitable organizations. Talk about a winemaker with a heart of gold and incredibly brave as well.
Absolutely. And, he's just a role model for what you can do, what's possible.
If you can, you should. I like that he said that, the call to get more helpers out there, because for those of you not in California, our California wildfires the last couple of years have been really just devastating. So, as I'm sure everybody knows from the news, but we were sure hoping it doesn't repeat this year.
Right. Hopefully everybody gets a break this year. Yeah. But, well, we just want to thank you all for tuning in and listening to us. You can find us at sipsiphooray.podcast.com. We'll have links in there, information about Alan and the winery, how to get in touch with them. And be sure to follow us on social media. We are at Sip Sip Hooray Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and on Twitter we are Sip Sip Hooray 1, the number 1.
So yes, thank you for listening. And if you've got a great idea for a show, let us know, and we will continue to do our best to bring you stories of people who are changing the wine world, who are making the wine world fun, and who are creating some delicious wines for all of us to enjoy.
Exactly. So, Mary, that's another episode. And everybody, we hope you join us for our next episode. Be sure to go to our website and subscribe to us on whatever platform you listen to your podcasts on. And be sure to share this with your friends and family. We'd really appreciate that.
All right, Mary Orland. Cheers to you, girl, and sip, sip, hooray.
Sip, sip, hooray, Mary Babbitt.
All right. See you soon. Cheers.
Okay, cheers.